signature and stuff.
Okay. Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call this regular Board of Finance meeting for Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 to order. First item on the agenda, public forum. Anybody wishing to address the Board of Finance public forum? Seeing none. Item number 2, approved minutes of our regular meeting minutes of May 15th, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, corrections, edits?
I had one.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Very minor
Yep.
edit on the bottom of page 5.
You didn't want the board
The
to
bore. I did not want the
vote
bore.
unanimously?
No.
Okay. I caught that one
It was
too.
quite an event watching that bore. So that's the only change I had.
That's the only one I had as well. So, anybody else have anything on those minutes? If not, call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you, Veronica. Item number 3, correspondence. We start off with standing building committee minutes. I do see that David DeMeo, chairman, is with us on Zoom. Good evening, Chairman DeMeo.
Good evening, folks. How are you?
Very good.
Thanks.
Standing building. Does anybody have any questions at all for David and the standing building committee? I searched very carefully for anything that I had questions on, and David, I'll be honest, I didn't really find anything except for there's quite a few projects that appear to be finishing up, and some that are just starting because it's summer. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to update us on or bring to our attention?
No, I think everything is running smoothly, status quo. No real issues at this point. So everything is running quite smoothly.
Good. I did notice that, I'm trying to make sure I get the right project here, but the issues that there were with the HVAC, was it the Baldwin HVAC? That there was some back and forth?
Phase 2, Baldwin HVAC, area handler 5 and 6.
Yeah, it appears that some of the issues between the work that was done and who was responsible for some of the issues seems to have been cleared up and agreed upon, which is...
I would say in general context, yes. We're waiting for a final quote from State or the HVAC contractor on some ductwork transitions that weren't clearly defined drawings by Silver Petroselli, which seemed to be the main impact of the problem. And once those numbers are in, then Silver Petroselli realizes that they need to come back to the standing committee in the town with some kind of explanation as to why it was clearly there's some design errors there. Okay. And we believe from a standing building committee perspective, there's got to be some shared responsibility.
Okay, so just waiting on that proposal, I guess.
That's correct. We expect to have it for the July meeting.
Great. Go ahead, Bob.
Just a quick one on the floor replacement at Melissa Jones. I'm just curious, is that a classic wooden floor, the gym floor? It's item number 15.
If I remember, well, I don't know if Melissa Jones School is, it's not.
Wood floor down there because we heard this at our last meeting. Because there's moisture down in that area, there is no plausible reason to put a wood floor there. But there is whatever.
I'm having trouble hearing you folks, so I don't think I got the question.
I was just curious what the material was going to be for the Jones floor, the replacement floor.
I believe it's going to be a coating rather than an actual floor surface this time.
Okay.
I believe that was the proposal, and it was a moisture mitigation process with it as well.
What's that?
Great.
Well, the description says with athletic flooring.
Yeah.
One would assume that's not wood, but that's not a coating.
I can't remember exactly what type of flooring it is, but it's not wood.
It's not linoleum, but it is something similar to that, but it's That's one thing. But they've had all kinds
I
of...
understood it to be some type of an epoxy coating, but
Epoxy.
you have
Yeah.
to Michael then
Good heart.
information.
Okay.
And with the bond for the gym floor replacement, it was Baldwin and Melissa Jones. And my understanding was Baldwin had the priority and Melissa Jones was, if money was left over, is there any concern about, I mean, it doesn't seem like a super high cost for this one, but any concern about there being enough money for the Baldwin one?
So, Michael, you're the only one I really hear. Can you repeat the question?
On the Melissa Jones project, on the gym floor, in the bond.
Right.
There was Baldwin and Melissa Jones for the flooring. Melissa Jones was the floor that if there was money left over, Melissa Jones would get done. Is there any concern about Baldwin and Melissa Jones getting done when Baldwin was the priority? How'd I do, Amy?
Yeah.
Close enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
That has not come before the standing building committee as an issue.
Okay.
In fact, I don't remember, I think I'm missing a page from my notes, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I don't believe Baldwin was even came before.
Okay.
It would only be if there was money left over.
For Melissa Jones. Okay.
Now, Melissa Jones has come before us, but not Baldwin.
But not-
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Um,
Linda, go ahead.
So, from what I understand from Cliff, there is no concern about there still being funding for the Baldwin gym floor. Baldwin is being delayed because of an asbestos issue, and we won't be able to get that done in time for the start of school. So they're doing the Jones one now, there'll still be funding for the Baldwin one. The Baldwin will be put off until next summer when they can address the asbestos issue.
Great, thank you for the clarification. And Baldwin, that was one of the capital issues, that there was asbestos found, even though the testing came back fine. Once they started looking at it more, there were
That was one
issues.
of the areas, there was other
Okay,
areas too.
so Melissa Jones got into the queue first, but there shouldn't be any issues with the
No, there shouldn't be
funding.
any issues with the funding, from what
Okay.
I understand.
All right, that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, based on that, I would say that the Standing Building Committee may not have been familiar with that in the bonding question. So, okay, great.
There's floor removal in the code, so it must be, they must be doing more than coating it.
Yeah, it has to be replacing because it's floor removal, putting down the new flooring, and then
And the vapor barrier.
the barrier.
I know you can't hear us. Don't worry, we're talking amongst ourselves. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, replacing.
If you could, you guys need to speak,
Right.
sort of project up,
Yeah.
not these, because these are for GCTV.
Right.
So-
Got it.
Which means the GCTV will really hear us. Okay. Anything further for David? Otherwise, I think that pretty much covers it. David, thank you very much for joining us
You're
this
welcome.
evening.
My
And-
pleasure. I'll circle back with you, Mike, and make sure that the report, Melissa Jones, so you guys are in the know on
Okay, great. We'll probably talk to you in July then.
that.
All right, thanks, Dave. Take care.
Thank you.
Care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Pension, committee minutes, investment report, or OPEB minutes and investment report. Not really much change on the
No.
reports. Pretty steady. I didn't see anything in the minutes. Anybody have anything? Okay. All right, we will move on to item number 4, review and accept the reported expenditures for the Board of Education for May 2023. Linda Trudeau, Jennifer Baldwin. Come on up.
Sorry, I'm trying to find an answer for the gym floor question.
Multitasking.
And I know that the tuition report came in by email, and I printed it out and gave it to everybody, so everyone's got a hard copy of it, so.
Thank you.
Sure. Usually I'm looking at my phone at it, but tonight I caught it, so. Jennifer,
Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody.
good evening.
So, we got the we did report these at the Board of Ed meeting last week, but the expenditures for the month of May 2023 were $4,627.07. These were 86.47% of the budget for this fiscal year. We did have some revenue from, which totaled $233,740.24. This was from Medicaid, pre-K tuition, and the final payment of the excess cost grant. That is the money that comes in from the state from special ed. That did come in lower than we expected, but still, I think, just a smidge higher than what we budgeted. Yes. Okay. So we're still in a good position. It was disappointing, though, that the state did do that. The takeaway from this month is everything costs more. Tuition's more, supplies and materials was more, transportation was more, purchase services were more, everything was up generally. And I think the only other thing that we really pointed out was that the line for in capital. Okay, the technology lease that we have is final. The check may have finally already gotten cut, or is close.
It's in the mail, from what I've been told.
Yeah, and that was over 400,000, and I think there's one more coming, which is good. And we have had a significant increase in the capital line because of unexpected things like what we just discussed with the flood at Jones and the asbestos at Baldwin. That's kind of it.
Yeah, I noticed everything says the percentages are higher from last year, but, you know, comparing year over year isn't necessarily a true test. Yeah. I don't know, is it about this time? I mean, do we know, just in general, are we looking at, we're going to be right on, is the Board of Ed going to be right on budget, or is there going to be some savings, or?
It'll be very little savings.
I know tuition went up a little bit, the savings,
Yes.
there was a slight uptick in the,
Right.
in the under budget.
There's still one unknown cost for tuition.
Yeah.
So that could change a little bit. This does reflect the final excess cost payment, so we know that that's settled and done.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's close, but we will probably have a very small surplus.
Okay.
The unbudgeted positions, we talked about during the budget process, that we had to add for this year. We have had to cover those costs, those additional site improvement costs. So there've been some unbudgeted items this year that we've had to try and cover.
Right.
Well, looking forward to next fiscal year, those unbudgeted positions are part
I
of
would have-
next year's budget, right?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
But-
there's some grants.
But we already are aware of large enrollments in 2 schools for kindergarten. So we are already looking at the potential of having to add 2 unbudgeted kindergarten teachers for the start of school.
For next year's budget, okay. But I guess my question is, we're retaining the unbudgeted positions from this fiscal
right,
year in next year's
budget.
But there may be 2 additional
Yes.
unbudgeted positions
Yes.
for next fiscal year.
Yes.
Okay.
On the building and grounds upkeep and the encumbrances, sitting at just short of 360,000. What's the status on that number in terms of?
Cliff has gotten, gave me some that I could close now. So after this report was done, I have closed some, and he's going to be looking at a list again probably next week. And he'll be closing a lot more, so that number will go down. I also sent something out to each of the schools in technology and athletics and asked them to review their open purchase order list to see what we could close and give us an update. So hopefully we'll be closing a lot more in the next week and get that number down overall. I think right now it's about 400,000 when I last looked. So it's down a little bit from this report. It was 450,000, I think.
Total on encumbrances? Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, because this report was saying almost 6.
Well, we've paid a number of invoices,
Yeah.
so that closed some of them, and then
okay.
some that we've canceled, so we've taken it down a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get it down more so we're not carrying over that much.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Anything else on the financials, warrants?
Is this kind of a timing difference on insurance? It's lower than last year, or did?
No, insurance is done. So the workman's comp one, we changed carriers for
Okay,
both.
right.
And so they're both, all the insurances for workman's comp and LAP, liability, auto and property are all paid and done for the year.
Great. Thank you.
I noticed school nurses is down. Is that because of an unfilled position or?
Yes, we didn't have a nurse coordinator for a good portion of the year, so that saved us some money there.
And legal is running high, but
Yes.
Still high.
are there any, are we expecting any more bills in the next 10 days? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a large bill that just came in for, which I didn't know was coming in, for a Title IX investigation to the tune of about $20,000.
Okay.
And then from this bill, I believe we still had 2 months of,
This is just May's, right? So it would be all of June's as well, so.
so this was April's, was included in here, so we had May and June's. So we have 2 months of invoices for both shipment and Canaan and Escalator.
Okay. So it'll be substantially above
Yes.
budget. Okay.
I was originally projecting, I think, about 150,000 total. It's now, with that bill, it's gonna be about 170,000 total. So
Okay.
well over the budget of legal.
The biggest driver there is still the FOIA?
That's a portion of it. I wouldn't say it's the biggest driver. We've had a number of negotiations go on for a very long time and go to mediation. We had some other labor issues, some grievances that took up some. We had some special ed legal and the FOIA. So it's a combination of all those events.
So it's spread around a little bit.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's like the perfect storm of all of them hitting at once. Yes.
If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Right.
Anything further? We have a bunch of, we have the 5-8 minutes, operations, 522 workshop.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Hoey.
it's not much of a surprise that remote users can't hear you. We can't hear much of what you're saying either,
Gotcha.
okay? Just saying, I know you guys are having a conversation at the table, but.
Yeah, we're all kind of close
you-
together
you-
here. So.
Yeah, you may need to project a little bit.
Will do.
Thank you, MJ.
Will do.
Back to 6 feet.
Yeah, we'll spread out next time. Okay. Anything else for Board of Ed? No, I didn't have anything else.
Happy summer.
See you in July.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jen.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good seeing you guys too.
Item number 5, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for May
Excuse me, do you have to
2023.
accept our report?
Oh, gosh.
We do.
See what happens when
Yes.
you go through the agenda?
I thought I was
real quick?
sleeping.
No. So, how's this? I'll entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for
So-
May 2023 in the amount of $4,627,170.07.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, recusals? All set. Thank you. Shall we now go to item number 5? In case you didn't catch it the first time, it's review and approve the report of expenditures of town government for May 2023. Mary Jo.
Hello.
So, I'm thinking we're going to be starting off with revenue.
As I said to the Board of Selectmen this morning, I always start with the good news.
That's the way to do it.
So through the end of May of 2023, we are 91.7% through the year. We are 101.2% collected as of this point. Our biggest drivers are interest through the finance office and the tax collection, and also the police department. So you'll note that the police department is $195,000 over budget, which is a direct correlation to their expenditures. As we reported last month, the number of
Fire?
fire, what did I say, police? Sorry, they're right there. Sorry, fire, is, sorry, the number of their trips is drastically increased this year, and so that does correlate to the expenditure side. Same thing with the golf course. You'll see that they're 62,000 over their budgeted revenue. Again, you'll notice that there is an offsetting expense on the other side due to usage. Any questions on revenue?
But so one of the vagaries of looking at municipal reports is that we look at the revenues and then we stop them all, and then we look at the expenses rather than seeing a P&L. And with golf, it bears pointing out that they're just a chip shot and a putt away from breaking even. Right?
You're absolutely right.
And they're normally set up to run at a significant deficit.
Yeah, they had been for years. You're absolutely right, Bob.
And so it would be marvelous if someday, not that we're going to change anything, but if someday we could look at these things on a profit and loss basis simultaneously, it'd be marvelous. But so anyway, I think it's just something to keep in mind. It was great performance.
There are certain departments to which that is appropriate, and there are some that probably is not.
No, you just,
Police department does not bring in any revenue.
No.
But
No.
But you're absolutely right. For those departments that do park and rec, right? And fire, those, I agree.
And finance, finance
Oh,
issue.
yeah, now you're bragging.
Let's not forget.
Well, so all right, well, we point out that's not only interest income, that's interest saved on bonds too, right? So you're hitting on both sides.
That's right, that's right.
And I did notice, not that it's great news, but Youth and Family Services, the revenue side is incredibly increased.
Well,
But the expense side is lower, so there's not necessarily a trade-off.
So caseload in Youth and Family
Right.
Services has increased
Right.
due to COVID. They are more than double their
Yeah,
caseload.
and that's continuing, so.
It's continuing. The reason that you're not seeing the expense side is because we are using ARPA funds to fund the additional clinicians that we need to cover these cases.
Okay.
But a very good point, because over time, when the ARPA funds run out, we need to make a call on whether or not those clinicians are still needed, and they would eventually need to come into the general fund if that determination is made.
Right.
So,
Good point.
Unfortunately, that's something that we're really not going to be able to know until we see the number of people coming in to be served by Youth and Family Services.
right, we didn't know what was going to happen in Youth and Family Services. They had a tremendous spike because of COVID and the students being home and schooled that way. We, at one point, anticipated that those numbers might come down, but we haven't seen that happening.
Right.
Yet to be seen.
Right.
But those numbers are still at its highest peak.
On the one hand, it's good that we provide that service, but I think it's something that a lot of people may not have been aware of, the resource that was available to them. And so one thing to keep an eye on is, now that word has gotten out or people have become familiar with the services provided, we may not see the rollback that we might have anticipated because people are aware of the services that are provided.
Yeah, it's hard to know at this time. Even the staff at Youth and Family Services don't have a crystal ball
Right.
to know where that's going. It's tough for kids. It might take them a little bit more time to get over the issues that they've had with COVID. So something that we'll have to address over the next couple of years as the COVID funds come to an end. So.
Anything else on revenue? Expenses?
So on the expenditure side, we are 89.4% expended. Some of our departments are over budget. I have talked about them, each of them over the last couple of months. We will be coming, as you know, over the next couple of months to make some transfers where we have funding set aside in fund balance that we'll be bringing over to cover some of these overages or to use other departments. We do have another month to go. As you can see, we did spend $2.2 million this month on the town side. We have a balance of $2,600, so assuming we spend the same, we're going to come very close at the end of the year.
I guess it'd be only fair to ask about the encumbrances.
The encumbrances, we're already working on with all of the departments to review their encumbrances, to close out or use up what they have. Specifically, we'll note in the golf course was mentioned this morning. The golf course is over budget by almost $17,000 with $13,000 worth of encumbrances. I do know we've been working with them, and just this month we have closed out a significant amount of their encumbrances. So that's what we're concentrating on this year, this month, and we'll be working on that with all the departments.
It looks like with the exception of golf, though, I mean, any other departments that have encumbrances are they're currently with, 1 month left, they're currently under their budget, so.
Except for the fire department, we do expect the fire department to be over budget.
Yeah.
They do have people out on workers' comp. They do have a larger load with the number of trips that they're making with the ambulance, so the replacement salaries, again, will be over. We don't anticipate it being as large a number as last year, but we do anticipate having to cover that this year.
Yeah, it was Public Works is the one I was looking at. That's the biggest number, but they're under.
Yeah,
so far.
and again, we are working with Public Works
Right.
to
Right.
reduce that as well.
Right, great. Okay, anything further on expenses? Special fund warrants. And then there's the warrant, June 19th and the weekly. Not see anything on my end. We could just jump to medical.
Okay, for the medical fund, we did have a large month of May, $1.2 million in claims, and about $200,000 over our budgeted amount. When it comes to catastrophic claims, we are at the moment only at 27.5% of catastrophic claims. I don't anticipate that June is going to be so drastically different that number is going to rise too much, but we have 27 people over the $75,000 limit and 8 people over the $150,000 limit. We are estimating, as of the end of May, a projected surplus of only $184,000. So as you can see, our budget is almost right on at this point.
One of the agenda, well, later on, we talk about the budget, reducing.
Yep.
I'm making the assumption that these numbers were looked at in terms of trends and were helped in terms of bringing the numbers down where we could do a reduction for next budget.
Right, so our claim...
Next fiscal year, I should say.
Our claims are right about where we had anticipated. Our biggest savings is going to be in stop loss and in administration, and we'll discuss that at the next item on the agenda.
Yeah. Anything further on medical?
Kind of medical related, I forget the name of it, the weight loss program.
Slim Nation?
Slim Nation, is that continuing to be a positive experience for the town employees and everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We did fill 2 rounds of that. We had couple more on the Board of Ed side that filled in a couple slots that the town didn't have, but just you know.
But it's been a full complement. For
Absolutely,
both-
absolutely.
Both sessions, right?
For both sides, yep.
Great.
So I think it worked very well. I can tell you from just some of the people that I know in the program, it has worked extremely well.
Good. And are there plans to continue for another?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Round
We
or-
haven't talked yet about having another round of that, but certainly that will be part of our discussions. We are receiving additional wellness funds, so that we're going to be talking about other ways to encourage our employees to be healthy, which is what we did with Slim Nation. So, you know, we have a lot of things that we'll be talking about in the future.
Great.
So.
Good. Anything else from Mary Jane? Town? Okay. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures of the town government for May 2023 in the amount of $2,265,586.
So moved.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, recusals. I'll recuse myself from any payments to Antonazzi Associates. And moving on to item number 6. As we just alluded to, discuss and take possible action on a proposal to budget a reduced amount to the medical fund. And so in front of us, we have employee medical budget was attached in our board pack, proposed reduction due to updated pricing in June 2023. Mary Jane.
So as always, I'd just like to start out by saying that this is collaborative effort between the Board of Ed and the town. None of the numbers that come before you, either budgeted or are proposed, comes forward without an agreement between Linda and myself. So I'd like to just start out with that. So as you know, we went out for an RFP for medical, full medical composite, as well as the stop loss on a separate bid. We were unable to come to you with numbers before the budget because we've reported other months that stop loss vendors required 3 quarters of experience through the end of March, so they wouldn't give us any numbers until April. So we did meet with our consultants. It's Mitch and Linda and I met with our consultants, and we came to the agreement that we would be taking our stop loss from Anthem to another carrier. As you'll see from your spreadsheet, it's a savings of $1.4 million. If I start with the projected claims, you'll see that the claims amount did get higher, and that's not because of our experience, but because of additional members into the plan. Yes, more people, more claims. So that was the reason for that. Stop loss is a savings of 1.4, and we were able to also experience savings between admin, discount share, and prescription rebates, which we consider all of our admin component. So overall, we have a savings of $1.4 million, as you can see, broken down between the town and the Board of Ed. We did receive 6 bids for stop loss. What we were told by our consultant is that 18 months ago, we would not have received bids from stop loss. For some reason, municipalities have recently become on the radar for them, and that is why our consultants were not recommending that we go out to bid for that prior to this. But we did, like I said, receive 6 bids. We have chosen a particular company for that. On top of the 1.4, if you remember last year we talked about lasering. So this year, this $1.4 million also includes lasering. There's a $200,000 lasering for 1 employee on the off chance that that person reaches that level. We have made the recommendation to leave that off of these numbers. If that employee should need that money, we're recommending that that come out of the fund balance of the medical fund. So it could be anywhere from $0 to $200,000, but instead of rolling it into what we're requesting, we're it was our recommendation that we use that from fund balance. So we are asking for you to approve the reduction in the amount that both the town and the Board of Ed transfer to the medical budget. Does not change, to the medical fund, it does not change the amount that we have budgeted. The 2024 budget is approved as is. What it changes is the amount we put into the medical fund. So there's a $1.4 million savings. It's either in the medical fund or in the general fund. We felt the general fund was the better place to put that. We had more autonomy with how we could use that. The medical fund is well funded at this point, and so that is our recommendation.
Does it reduce the employee contributions?
Yes, good, very good question. Very good question, yes. At the same time, the employees, all of the employees, there's one contract, one union contract that increased the percentage that the employees were paying. So those employees are seeing a very slight increase in their medical pay because of that, but everyone else is seeing a reduction. We're not talking big dollars, but overall for everyone, you know, normally July 1 comes around and everyone says, yay, I got a raise, but it's eaten up by my medical. This is the year that we can't say that. So as we go through our discussions for our medical fund, we're very cognizant of what the employees are paying, and if the town is receiving a benefit, at least our little committee feels that the employees should as well. And so this year, that's what we have done.
Two quick questions.
Yep.
I'm just curious why the consultant, how did they characterize the reasoning between the 6 months? What was the differential? Was it COVID, or why 6 months ago wouldn't we have had?
18 months ago.
18 months ago, sorry.
You know, I'm not exactly sure of the reasoning, but we were just not advantageous for some reason to the stop-loss companies.
Okay.
And I apologize, I don't have a real direct answer for that.
Just curiosity. And then, perfect segue to the next question. What did the pattern look like, the stop losses? Were they all kind of in the same boat, or was there one outlier that we took?
So you mean with our bids?
Yeah.
So we had 6 bids. Well, I think I actually printed them out.
Well, just,
Yep, so we had 6 bids. We are going with Partners MGU. So our bids ranged from 2.19, which was Anthem, the highest, down to 1.4, and everywhere in between, 1.8, 1.5, 2 million, 1.9. So there's, you know, a large array. There was another company, HCC, that their actual stop-loss premium was slightly less, but with the lasering kind of made a difference. So we chose to go with Partners, but so that was kind of the spread.
thank you.
But it's interesting, even at the higher end of the bids that you received, it still was a reduction from what was budgeted. So,
Correct.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
Anthem did come in at the last minute with a reduction overall, which is where we're seeing the reduction in the admin. That's all from Anthem. They came in with a reduction in stop loss, but it still wasn't enough for us to stay with them. Am I missing anything, Linda?
No, the only thing that I would want to add is that the last couple of years, the stop loss insurance has favored the carrier and not us. So our claims have been less than the premium. So that factors in a little bit to the change in the rates for this year. Whereas in years prior, we benefited from the lower premium and in covering the higher claims.
It evens out eventually.
Is the stop loss line the only one that we went other than Anthem?
Correct.
Yeah.
Just stop loss.
Just stop loss, which was, of course, kind
Which
of
is really all
a
we
no-brainer.
can pull out, yes.
Yeah, no, and that's so incredible.
And it doesn't affect anyone's insurance. You know, so for us to change carriers, that's a big deal, right?
Right.
Everybody has to have a new carrier, but to pull out the stop loss, there's no effect to the employees. They won't even see, because it's all going to filter through Anthem. It's just we have to now pay the stop loss and get reimbursed. It's a little different system, but because we have the surplus in the medical fund, we're able to pay that out in that way.
So the full medical RFP was completed and you went with Anthem, or is that still pending?
Well, we chose to stay with Anthem.
Okay.
At that point, so it's a good question. We are still working towards this next year to go out to another full RFP. Now that we've pulled the stop loss out of the overall insurance, we're able to look at the medical insurance on its own. So our plan this fall is to meet with the players and talk to them about their service. To see what they have to provide to us, and then at the same time go out for bids and hopefully have RFP back and numbers. We'd like to get them by December, but we'll probably have them by January. So our hope is, our plan is that by the next year, when we're putting our fiscal year 25 budget together, that we will have updated numbers for the medical as well. So it could be a 2-year improvement, or at least that's our hope.
Good. Anything else further on?
No, that's a great update.
Yeah, I'll just say that, we have an agreement that the Board of Ed, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Finance will all be part of this decision. The Board of Selectmen met this morning and approved the reduction. The Board of Ed met last week and did the same, so we're here in front of you for your approval, so that when we make our first transfer into the medical fund for January, that we will put in the reduced amount.
Okay. When I drafted the motion, I figured that there should be not just the total, but the 2 allocated amounts as well.
It's fine.
Right, I just
fine.
figured to make sure it's on
We know what
record.
we're doing.
Well, I guess to make sure the public knows what the
Absolutely.
allocations are.
Absolutely.
In the motion. Yes. Sure.
The Board of Selectmen this morning agreed that we were going to take the amount that is reduced and let it fall to fund balance. I think there was some discussion this morning with Linda and our board relative to the intentions of the Board of Education, because as you well know, once you allocate the money to them, they can spend it in any form or fashion. So there is some pressure currently at the Board of Education on class sizes. So I think there were, I don't want to characterize it, but there were some discussions at the last meeting that some of the potential savings here on the insurance might be deployed somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And as I think you all know, none of us you don't have the capacity to say, yes, you can spend it there, you can't spend it there. So, so there is a possibility that not all of that will fall to fund balance, but at this point, the Board of Selectmen has no intention of reallocating what we are no longer required to pay into the medical account. Therefore, we anticipate it will fall to fund balance. Were that to happen on both sides, we're looking basically next year at next year, it is next year, right? 23, 24, close to a $1.4 million surplus. And not only that, but in February and March, when we're deliberating on our expenditures, you will have an extra, theoretically, assume a 5% interest or increase, you'll have about $1.4 million of money that was allocated in this year's budget that you might not have to allocate next year. So there are some pretty significant ramifications to this, not only for what happens to fund balance, but what happens when you put a budget together next March.
It's a big number.
Big numbers. You're absolutely right. And and the point I'm making is, I want to thank Mary Jane, Mitch, and our insurance consultant, as well as everybody who has raised the question, and Linda, as well as everybody who has raised the question, what can we do about this stop loss in these increases? So I think this is evidence of a great body of work by, as I said, Linda, Mitch, Mary Jane, and Joe Spurgeon, our consultant.
Great.
Well, I'd agree with that also, but it's something that we've all been at these meetings long enough where something comes up and then it gets forgotten or set aside for a number of months. And this is something that came up when the rates went up substantially the last budget cycle. We didn't forget about it, and we took the steps to make sure that we did the research, and this is the result of that sustained effort. So it's good that everybody kind of kept their eye on the ball on this. So it's good to see.
And we continue to, as we said, we are working next year to go back out to RFP and see if we can find some more, even more savings.
Right, right.
Just out of curiosity, Linda, I know the Board of Finance has no say in what you do, but I'm assuming through minutes or through our meetings, the Board of Education's decision on what to do with it will be in the loop on, how the money gets allocated, whether it goes to fund balance or whether it goes to, certain aspects or allocations in the Board of Education budget, just to keep us abreast, so that we know going into next year for budget, budget season, where that money went and where it could continue possibly to go.
Right. So the only thing that has been discussed is these two positions that we're aware of right now. We would have had to put those in regardless of this and find the money somewhere else. There is no intention by the Board of Ed at this point to use these funds for anything else. And I'm really hopeful that that stays, because that means everything goes smooth for the next year, which would be really nice. There's no unanticipated expenses. But right now there is no other, but if something does come up, there certainly will be informed along with everybody else.
Great job. Really, it's excellent. Okay, well, with that, I did put this in the form of motion just to make sure that the total and the allocation, allocated amounts were listed. So I'll entertain a motion to reduce the amount budgeted to the medical fund in the amount of $1,392,498, with an allocated reduction of $1,043,677.21 for the Board of Education, and an allocated reduction of $348,820.79 for the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Great job, both of you, on
Yeah.
shepherding this through.
Item number 7, committee reports, building permits. Item number 8, old business. Item 9, new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have an answer for you under Jones, the Jones Gym floor. It will be a luxury vinyl plank flooring.
Page, repeat
Luxury vinyl plank flooring. So vinyl plank flooring.
Vinyl plank form. Interesting.
Luxury.
It's called luxury, it's just, it's luxury because it's meant to look like wood as opposed to just a vinyl flooring.
When you talk about tax dollars, luxury just probably shouldn't be put in there, but I understand what you mean.
Terminology just goes.
It's just a terminology.
Does this mean no skin knees if you hit the ground or
deserve
something
it.
like that?
Thank you, Linda.
Very soft.
Okay, item 10, public forum. And seeing none at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.